everybody. Welcome to another episode of Madge Unmuted. I am your hostess, Madge Madigan. Welcome.
I like the seizure right before we start. It's awesome.
It's how I limber up. It's how I get ready. That voice you hear is Fitz.
'Tis I,
my lovely, trusty
producer slash studio owner.
He's the studio owner, Rock Fox Studios. I want to think of a different name for you every time. I mean, not like name like Fitz, but like adjective.
Oh, yes. We'll have to get our thesaurus out for next time.
That's not right. Guys,
I've never really been described as dainty.
No,
well, one time, but that was when I was in prison.
Oh, yeah. And they chose you for a reason.
That's right.
That's Fitz from
Hi.
Rock Fox Studios, the purveyor of this fine establishment. If you're looking to record video, audio, anything, start a podcast.
Do a podcast.
He's the podcast
Forget about
master. That's like a bass master. Call Fitz, Rock Fox. Don't call, but look him up, rockfox.com. ROCVOX.com.
Dun, dun, dun.
Hey, Fitz, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Madge?
Good.
Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for joining me.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Your name's on the door.
It is. No, not
Or on
really.
the screen.
How was your weekend? I had a phenomenal weekend.
My weekend could have been better. Could have been better.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, my little puppy dog is sick, and he's might have a disease, and is going to cost me all kinds of money every month. But we love him.
Well,
We love that puppy dog.
On that cheery subject. I'm sorry about your puppy.
Yeah, he'll be okay.
Hey, I'm going to tell you about how I got 3 marriage proposals this weekend.
I like that.
Yeah. I think I found my demographic. I found my target audience. Because I got 3 proposals out of it. No, I took a trip over the weekend. I went to New York City. As we here live up
The
in...
Big Apple.
Yes, up in Rochester, New York.
The
And I've
city that never sleeps.
Exactly. And I've been wanting to go for like 2 years.
And for 9/11 weekend, too. How, wow.
Let me tell you about that. So this wasn't, I was going to visit my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I have one that lives in Queens and 2 live in Stamford, Connecticut. And I hadn't seen them since May. And so I'm like, I got to get down there. And damn it, I love New York. I love New York. And I've always loved New York. I wanted to live there. And life happened and I didn't get to live there. But after my youngest, left, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go and be there and visit and go there more often. And because it's kind of my inspiration place.
Mm-hmm.
So I went there and I was like, oh, okay. The only weekend I have free is September 10th through the 12th. And I didn't think twice about it.
It didn't register that it was, yeah.
So anyway, we go there and I went to visit my kids, and at a last minute, I decided to go down to 9/11 or World Trade Center. Whatever.
Yeah, what is it? Is it called Freedom Tower or something like that?
No, I think the area is still World Trade Center.
Oh, okay.
Because there's still
because the World Trade Center was a whole bunch of buildings. It was like 10 buildings or something.
Right. I went out with the kids on Friday night for dinner and drinks, and we had a lot of fun. And
where'd you go? Not that I would know the place because I haven't been in New York City in years and years. But
first, I met my son at. I stayed on the Bowery, which is not the Bowery of old, and
that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, I was near Bowery and Canal, and then
because you could end up dead if it was the Bowery of old.
Yeah, and then I met my son at this place called Ampersand. It was on it was like on 23rd or something.
Or at least it's not called hashtag.
Yeah, no, it could be. It could be called semicolon.
Yeah,
and. Not to be confused with my colon.
No, nobody would confuse anything with your colon. Hey!
Oh! So let's see. Yeah, it was ampersand on 3rd between 22nd and 23rd. Okay, and then we had drinks at. Or no, that was drinks. And then we went to eat at this place called Counter and Bodega. was on 7th between 22nd and 23rd, and it was phenomenal. It was Latin food. So we had a nice, so it was me and my 3 kids, and then Abby's boyfriend, Tyler, and then my friend, John. So there was a lot of drinks, and the next morning, John couldn't sleep. He's like, it's like 7 o'clock, and he's like, I'm going to walk down to World Trade Center. And I was like, yeah, okay, you go ahead. I can't get up. So then I wake up at 9, and I don't know. I just had this feeling. I'm like, I got to go down there. I want to go down there. So I took my hungover ass and I got in there, and John was already on his way back, but he's like, okay, I'll go down there with you. And he told me, oh, there's this going on and this going on. And so I said, okay, so the first place we go is Trinity Church. Now, I don't know. Well, for one, I'm a Catholic and I kind of dig all that stuff, but I don't think Trinity Church is actually Catholic. I think it's like Episcopalian or something. Probably should look that up, shouldn't I? But anyway, I don't know if those of you that know Trinity Church was like right there, but kind of came out unscathed, and the church has been there for a couple centuries. So anyway, we go there, and actually, I kept one of the ribbons.
It is Episcopal.
Episcopal?
Yeah, Episcopal. Trinity Church, Wall Street.
Yeah. So they were giving out these ribbons. They say remembrance and healing. And they gave you pens and you wrote somebody's name on them and you tied them to the fence, which I have a picture. I don't know if we can bring that up. And so we were at Trinity Church, and this, I'll show you the video of me tying a ribbon on, and I put the name of John. Had a fellow Marine pilot that was I had it written down. He was the co-pilot of Flight 175. And he, of course, perished when they hit the World Trade Center. But the thing about that is the guy was a fellow Marine pilot of John's, and they both applied for that same United pilot job, and John didn't get it, and Mike did. Mike Horrock. So that
amazing how fate works, you know?
So I'm like getting verklempt talking about this. So I wrote Mike's name on the ribbon, and we wrote, and I go in there and we light a candle, and I'm just, I'm a mush when it comes to those things. I'm very emotional. I feel every emotion every time. I live life, emotionally. We take a walk closer to the Oculus, the Oculus.
Yeah.
Look at that big monstrosity thing. Yeah. Here's a picture of it. And there was just interesting, there was this whole mishmash of people. There was...
That's the best part of New York City is watching, is the people watching.
And that's
just like...
That's what I'm going to tell you.
You have like Japanese tourists and Hasidic Jews and
that was my thing. So you had like, everyday people like me. You had a shit ton of firemen walking around from like all over the place in their formal uniforms.
Awesome.
You had that. And then you had, this one bothered me a little. There was a lot of people dressed like head to toe in red, white, and blue, stars and stripes. Some of them were a little clownish.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not what that's about. That's not what 9/11...
I have always thought that those are the people who are probably the worst because they have to wrap themselves up in the flag to like be overly patriotic or something. And I don't think the flag should be used as clothing.
No. Nope. No.
That's just my opinion.
And then there were, ones in like these cheesy commemorative...
Oh, yeah.
9/11 shirts. And I'm like, that's not dignified. I'm sorry. To me, this is
the airbrush with the smoke, and then there's like Jesus and a flag.
And a fireman's face in the clouds.
They have their pickup trucks are wrapped in that stuff.
Right. And I'm about humans.
Thing. Yeah.
Yes, it happened in this country, and it was an attack on this country, but down there, it's about people, because there was a lot of people from other countries in the World Trade Center that perished. But anyway, we're down there, and I showed some pictures here. We go to this. John's like, I'm hungry. Excuse me, which he often does. Sorry. And he's like, there's this little place around the corner. And so we go to this little cafe and we walk in and it's right 11 o'clock and it says, and I hadn't eaten yet. I wanted my coffee and like my egg sandwich. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry. We just stopped, we're done with breakfast now. And I was fucking irate.
It turned into Falling Down with Michael Douglas.
Exactly. I was going to get out my baseball bat.
I want my breakfast.
And so I was like, well, I'll find something, whatever. And then John's like, oh, well, I'm going to get a sandwich. And I'm like, well, fuck it, I'll get a turkey sandwich.
You're in New York. You're in New York City. The only thing you're allowed to get is a pastrami on rye. So that's all you're allowed to have.
This place was really good. I wish I could remember the name. But so we take our sandwich, and there's some tables out front. We take our sandwich, and we go, it's my sandwich, my coffee. And we sit there, and I just had this thought come over me. Now I'm intuitive-ish. Like I feel things.
I was going to think of another word, but yeah, that's right. No, I'm just kidding.
A pain in the ass? Yeah.
Joshing
so I'm
with you.
kind of intuitive, and I had this feeling, and I just said to John, okay, so next to us were these group of four guys sitting at a table. And they're two older gentlemen, like in their 70s, and two gentlemen about my age. And they're just sitting there. And they were already done eating, and they're just sitting there talking and bullshit. And you could hear they're just talking about where they were on that day, and then this guy and that guy, whatever. And I was like, I said to John, that's what I want to do. That's how I want to live. That's how I want to be. I want to be in New York and sit at a table with people every day and watch people go by and watch people and talk about shit.
You want to be a background featured extra from the Seinfeld show.
I do. But it's like I felt so strongly. And they're talking, and I kind of, I'm starting to like work my way into the conversation. Then these two ladies from Nashville walk by, and they're like, can we just share these two chairs? Can we just eat? And
they like wanted to sit down with you?
Yeah, with these guys.
Oh, with those guys,
yeah,
not you.
Yeah, because they had two open, because like people will do that sometimes in New York. Like, come on, I just have this chair to eat.
Yeah.
Like, fine. So they sit down and they start talking, and this was more of me parlaying my way in there. I was butting in. But they, I could tell it was an invitation for anybody to talk to them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So they start talking about traveling, and I was like, oh yeah, you got to go there. And then we talked more and more and more, and the chairs scooched closer together. And these two guys are in their 70s. They're brothers, and they're originally from Boston, but now one still lives in Boston, one lives in Long Island. There was Joe and Phil, and then Joe saw John's Marine shirt, and he's like Semper Fi, and he was a Marine, and then started talking military shit. Then the other two guys, turns out they had just met them. They were Kevin and Tom from Chicago, and they rode their motorcycles there. And it just was this endless, effortless conversation about anything and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the shit I love. And that's why my podcast is the way it is.
Endless about nothing and everything?
About nothing. But
spot on.
But it was just about people bullshitting and talking and seeing where the conversation takes you.
Yeah.
And it was like, hey, I was in the Marines. Where were you? Hey, I live here. Oh, I know somebody that lives there. Oh my God. One time I went there. It was just endless. And all of a sudden it was like these guys, they were talking about a bar, O'Hara's. It was around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember. I think it's on Worth. I don't remember. Jesus Christ. So it's a fireman bar. And the guy's like, well, we're going to go there because I know our friend who's a fire chief from, I think it was like Malden, Massachusetts. He's like, he's down there. And John and I were just going to like check out of the hotel and then go drive to Connecticut. Because the kid's son went back to Queens, and the girls just, and Tyler hopped on the train to go back to Connecticut. And the plan was, okay, I'm going to go to Connecticut to see where they live the next day. But John's like, you want to go? And I'm like, Fuck yeah. And so we go around the corner, and it is this. Here's a picture of me, he and I standing in front of it. Quintessential old bar, firemen hang out, and they had the street blocked off, and they had a tent that with the food, and there's a fire truck, and we walk up, and we're just kind of meandering over there, and there's some guys standing by the truck, and they're like, hey, how are you? And they're, like I said, it's my fucking target audience, because I don't know what this is about that place. They like redheads.
It's the Irish girl. It's an Irish place.
Exactly. The firemen, Irish, everybody's got to point that out. And we're like, oh, Jesus, it's crowded in there. We're going to get in there. And this guy, I think his name was Dave. He's like, if you're going to hang outside, if you were smart, you go down to the bodega, buy a 6-pack, and you just stand out here. And we're like, why the fuck didn't we think about that? And I'm like,
because you don't normally think about going to a bar and bringing booze with you to the bar.
Because it was still, kind of a street party. I'm like, you know what?
Frowned upon.
You're really smart. And the one guy goes, the one older guy is like, oh, where's the bodega? And he goes, you get out, and you get a, whatever. I think he said a rock, a quarter, something. You get out of your pocket and you throw it, and there'd be a bodega. Doesn't matter where you go, it's a bodega. I'm like, you're not wrong on that one. But anyway, so we go in and we buy some beers. But I decided I'm not huge on beer anymore. I decided I needed my Tullamore Dew on the rocks.
There you go.
And while we're in there, there was a piper and a drummer. And they started playing.
God, it was just like back at home.
Which I took this video. And it's a shitty video, but anyway. So they start playing music. Okay. Again, I lose it, because that's what I do. I mean, Danny Boy and Amazing Grace on a bagpipe, I'm a pup.
Yeah.
So we take it outside and we give everybody a beer, and I go over to the guy that told me to go to the bodega, and I said, the only problem with the bodega is I can't get whiskey. And he's like, you got me there. So then we go back, and then we start talking to this guy next to us, and he was wearing a kilt, and obviously he was in a pipe band, but he had like both police and fireman insignias on, and he had his nameplate was Corrigan. And down there, it's so funny. People will be like, what's your name? What's your last name? They want to know your last name.
Yeah.
Because one, obviously they think I'm Irish, and I tell them Madigan. Oh, and then we go on about like whole fucking heritage. We start talking to him, and he's telling us about where he was on 9/11. And he's just a very loud guy with a lot of stories. Irish people, which most of firefighters and historically are, and police, we cover up things with humor.
No. Where'd you get that far-fetched idea from?
I don't know if that's dysfunctional or that...
Oh, it's totally dysfunctional.
Or that we try and see the good side.
Sure. If you
I'll go with that.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
So what I found was so interesting, these guys looked really tired. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could see the sorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But then they're like, fuck it. We're going to toast Sully and O'Brien and, Finelli and, let's celebrate them. So it becomes, then everybody starts getting drunk, and then they're just talking, but they're like, and there's hugging and crying, and then there's more bagpiping. So I start talking to this guy, and he's telling us all his stories, Ken, and you would ask him a question, and he would start telling a story, and all of a sudden he's telling a story about where he was that day in the Bronx. Then all of a sudden he ends up talking about how they have the shittiest Italian food in the Midwest.
Sounds like a bar conversation.
I love you, Ken. And then he was so entertaining, but then you kind of say, okay, go back to, okay, where were you? What happened with this? I don't know. The guys were talking, and I start talking to this other guy named Rick. Hi, Rick. Rick lives on Martha's Vineyard, and Rick just immediately started talking about my red hair and green eyes. And Rick, in his drunken moment, jokingly, he's like he was going to hand over all of his money and worldly possessions to me.
And how much would that have amounted to?
No. He said he had more money than God. I don't know, Rick.
God doesn't need money.
I don't know. So, and then he asked me to marry him. Then I went and went inside. And he was really freaking interesting. So I go in there, and then I met these firemen from Los Angeles. And one of them, it's like they were trying to, no, I shouldn't say that. So one of them was taken to me. That was taken with me. That was my second marriage proposal. And then my third was just some other random guy that really liked redheads. So I should go down there more often. So we're just, I can't convey how cool it was. I mean, we're just talking to people, all walks of life, and you're like instant friends. But can I tell you one really interesting thing? The whole day, not one mention of politics.
Yeah.
Not one, not even close. Nobody alluded to, because that happens a lot. Do you ever get the, like...
I've rarely had a conversation that didn't end up in politics somehow.
Right.
It always ends up.
Right.
So that's amazing that it didn't.
Yeah. And I've had, I call them the whispering bigots, or the wink and a nod bigots.
Sure.
I mean, that's just one facet of it. I mean, there's other, they'll allude to, well, our current president, some people say like, okay, yeah, I get it. You don't like the president. I see which way you're leaning.
Right.
Yeah. Or, or those people.
Yeah.
And you could tell not one thing that day. And it made me fall in love with humanity all over again.
Wow.
Because I'm a big sap. That is my thing. I love people. I love people. I love human interaction. I love the human condition is very complex. And that day I was like, I laughed, I cried, I was angry, I was everything. It was, as Jimmy Valvano said, that's a full day. Uh-huh. And I freaking loved that. And so, I go in there and, I find separate guys that are like, oh my God, will you marry me? You look like Maureen O'Hara. I know that's a really old thing. But anyway, so we all became best friends. And then they finally opened up the memorial at 3:00, and you could walk down there. And we go down there. And everybody's, finding the names of people we knew, and we're sharing stories, and we're down there, and all of a sudden we realize what time it is, and we realize that we have dinner reservations in Connecticut, that we thought we'd be there long before that. My
shit, we gotta be in another state.
I know.
Like now.
Luckily, it's only like a 30, 40-minute drive.
Right.
And she's like, where are you? What are you coming? And I'm like, fuck. So then we start walking, and we're just going, we're talking about all the people that we met, and what they said, and how cool this was, and how fulfilling. And we're like, end up like a mile out of the way, like, wait, where the fuck did we go? Where are we? Finally, we get there, and then we got in the car and drove to Connecticut and had a lovely dinner with my kids. But
hell of a weekend.
It was incredibly fulfilling. I thought I was just going to see my kids. And it turned out to be like this study in the human condition.
Right.
Which I love. Like, I thrive on that stuff. So I think I'm going to start having this be like a podcast that's sort of like, that Instagram thing, that account, Humans of New York.
Yeah.
Like, I want to meet different people every week and just bullshit with them and find out their story.
Humans of Bushnell's Basin.
I don't know how interesting that
Hey, here
would be.
comes Bob. Bob hangs out at the corner with a sign. Come here, Bob. Let's talk to Bob. I don't know why he talks that way. We can invite the guy that works at the mobile station. He seems cool.
I want to talk to that guy that stands on the corner where
At university?
yeah, you knew exactly what I was talking about.
I know, because I always hate when I hit that light and I'm like,
I know, don't make eye contact. And I want to talk to him like, why are you here? Not in a mean way. Like, what brought you here?
yeah, like where did things go wrong? Because something had to have gone wrong.
Or maybe
Some of those people make a shitload of money.
I know. I thought about doing that several times when I was at my lowest.
Damn it, your
when
pride.
I was like evicted.
Goddamn pride.
Yeah. Well, I had two fantasies. One of standing on the corner with a help me feed my children thing. And then the other one was being a stripper. But that was like 30 pounds ago and 20 years ago. And I was like,
hey,
what if I went to this town that's 30 minutes away and nobody would
Madge,
know
I'll tell you, there's still an audience for you. I'll tell you right now.
Well, apparently down near the World Trade Center.
Exactly. You just go down there and...
A few of them thought I was the cat's meow.
I tell you what, 3 marriage proposals in a weekend? In one day?
One of them gave me, he took the band off his cigar and put it on my finger. I don't know what happened to that. And just to let you know, I did stop drinking far ahead enough, a couple hours before I'm like, we got to go to Connecticut. we
gotta slow down, man.
Yeah, exactly. But also I was trying to be good because I wanted to like absorb this shit and remember it.
Yeah.
So, but unfortunately, I didn't do that well because I can't remember how the other proposals went and what their names were. But I do want to say hello to my new besties, Joe and Phil, and Kevin and Tom, Ava, love you, girl, Ken, love you, and Rick, mwah. They're all my buddy. We're all Facebook friends now. And
geez.
And a bunch of I know. We're all talking, and they're gonna see this, and they're like,
and they're gonna say, "That's not how it happened at all. What the hell's wrong with you? You got it all wrong."
I didn't ask you to marry me. I asked you to get the hell out of the way. And that, but at times I had 3 and 4 drinks.
Oh, yeah.
Consolidating them. And, it was just, oh God, one other thing I forgot. When we were standing, we stood outside most of the time because it was a gorgeous day.
Yeah.
Which was weird because it was exactly like it was 20 years ago. But, all of a sudden, somebody, whoever we were with, John or Phil or whatever, they kind of tap me and they're like, look who's over there. And I'm like, what? Immediately, I see a guy in a suit with a red beret. Red beret. Do you know what do you think? Did something come to mind? New York City, red beret? Guardian Angels?
Oh.
It was Curtis Sleva.
I don't know who that is.
Right, you're a little younger. He's the guy that created the Guardian Angels. It was like in 1978 when New York City was like a cesspool.
Yeah.
And they were basically a group of vigilantes.
Right.
Started out, I think, like 13 guys, and they wore these red berets, and then they wore those. You remember the satin jackets, like baseball jackets? Yeah. They wore red satin jackets, and they basically paroled the subways. And then the ranks grew and grew. And then, of course, there was some, like it turns out, he says, what's the word? fudged. He made up some stories, some heroic stories, so that everybody think they're so great. Oh, I saved this lady from a stabbing. Well, that didn't really happen. Anyway, he's running for the mayor. He's the Republican nominee for
Really?
the mayor of City of New York.
Good luck.
Yeah. And so he stopped and he was talking to some of the firemen, and it was funny because like a couple of them talked to him and like, yeah, and then they like walked away. So I don't know.
You lost me at candidate. Otherwise, I was willing to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, and he was carrying a briefcase. I'm like, it's Saturday, dude. But anyway,
He was wearing a beret.
Picture the curve sleeve.
Is he still is that organization still around?
I don't.
Or does he just wear it for?
Think so. Oh, he just wears it because it's his.
Because that's his identity.
Yeah, his identity. Yeah. Oh, I guess he's been a radio personality in New York for 20, 30 years.
Oh, really?
So yeah. So, I got a new little segment. What did I learn this week? What did Madge learn this week? We got to have some theme music. So this little segment is going to be I don't know if this is the right music, but anyway. What did Madge learn this week? This segment's going to be like a cross between a mini TED Talk and like Jerry Springer's Final Thoughts. Have you ever seen that show? Jerry Springer used to like, he'd have this crazy show with people, wigs flying and shit. And then at the end, he'd try and be like, the next time you think that someone's
words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom. Like after this shit show that he just had. So basically, I'll have the same thing. After the shit show of a story that I just told or didn't tell, I'm going to tell you what I learned. So, every human has a story. Remember that. Every human has a story.
Yep.
We all experience emotions.
Most of us.
I was going to say most of us, unless you're a psychopath, because clinically they do not feel empathy or remorse. But everybody has the same. We're made up of the same thing. Yeah, we got some little differences here and there, but we're basically the same people. And I just find it so interesting that this weekend politics was not mentioned once, which shows that that
it's possible.
That it's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible. When you come together, we come together. No, acknowledge the differences and accept them. Embrace them. You don't have to hate people. I don't know. That's what I got. That's what brings us together. Life is beautiful. People are beautiful. We like humans.
You're beautiful, Madge.
You're beautiful, Fitz. And on that note, but wait, what is that? Fitz has some breaking news.
That's right. If the news ain't broke, don't fix it. All right, what do we have? Today is National Cheeseburger Day. Double Cheeseburger Day.
Oh.
Yes.
I hate cheeseburgers.
What?
I don't like cheese on my burgers, nor do I like having two burgers between my buns. Do you like two burgers between your buns, Fitz?
No, I guess not.
Do you like cheeseburgers?
I do like cheeseburgers.
Okay.
A man is walking America's highways in a 78-pound anime-style bear suit. He's on a 2,700-mile cross-country quest to raise money for 6 charities, and he hopes to end his walk in New York City sometime in November.
Perhaps I should go down there and interview him.
Yes, the big bear.
The big bear.
Another man was caught walking down to Texas Beach dressed as Michael Myers from Halloween. It was a prank, but police still cited him for disorderly conduct.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no, that's Friday the 13th.
I couldn't tell you the difference between any of those horror films.
Yeah, well, they're all the same.
Yeah, pretty much. They're all in summer camp and they all die.
According to a new study, an active lifestyle leads to a 62% lower risk of anxiety disorders among men and women. Imagine that. Keeping busy keeps your brain from going, woohoo!
I'm not so sure about that, but anyway.
Yeah. A vehicle in Madison, Wisconsin swerved to avoid a chipmunk on Monday and crashed into the side of a brick building. No one was injured. The chipmunk is going nuts.
You know what? That's what... Wait, did chipmunk live?
Yeah.
See,
No one
I
was
was
injured.
always taught, don't swerve, just hit the animal.
Just hit the animal.
Yeah, because worse could happen when you try and swerve. And I know all you animal lovers out there will say different, but I don't know.
I mean, yeah, you're not supposed to put other people in danger because of a chipmunk.
Exactly.
Right. Some people don't know.
I don't want to kill my passengers or hit another car or whatever. Sorry, chipmunks.
Amazon has increased its average starting wage in the U.S. to more than $18 per hour and plans to hire another 125,000 workers.
But do they still make you pee in bottles?
Maybe. But you can afford a nicer bottle or a bigger bottle.
Hey!
And that's the news for today, whatever the hell today is.
Whatever today is. Thanks, Fitz.
You're welcome.
So, thanks
Madge,
for
Madge Unmuted, where the news comes first and then rolls over and goes to sleep.
But we enjoyed it while it was there.
Yeah.
Kind of like most things.
45-second news.
I know. Thanks for joining us this week on Madge Unmuted. Don't forget to subscribe while you're here. Fitz, rockfox.com, Rockfox Studios.
Yeah, hit me up if you have a podcast or if you need some editing done or if you need me to come out and shoot something or whatever. And I don't mean chipmunks.
Yeah, right. And Madge, you can reach me at Madge Madigan on all social media. And yes, please, again, do subscribe, rate, review, share, partake.
Sunny.
Lampoon. No, don't lampoon. But anyway.
Lampoon. Harpoon?
Harpoon. Because I'm a whale. And don't forget to join me next week here on Madge Unmuted.
MadgeMadigan.com, baby. Woohoo!